Right. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just giving it a moment as people start joining from the waiting room, and we will begin momentarily. All right. All right, great. All right. It is my pleasure to introduce Marie Kenny, the ACWW World President, who will just welcome us as we get started with this session today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Casey. My name is Marie Kenny, and currently I serve as the World President for the Associated Country Women of the World. And on behalf of ACWW, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar on mental health and the impact of isolation on women in farming and rural communities. Thank you for being here today. This webinar is particularly timely as we mark the United Nations International Year of the Woman Farmer. Thank you all for joining us from around the world this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, whatever time it is in your area. We are delighted to welcome our distinguished panelists, ACWW members, and like-minded organizations, and everyone who has taken the time to be part of this important conversation. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our speakers for sharing their expertise, their experiences, and their perspectives with us today. Your willingness to contribute to this discussion is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to learning from each one of you. For nearly 100 years, ACWW has provided a global platform for the voices of rural women. Through advocacy, education, and international cooperation, we have worked to ensure that the experiences of women living and working in rural communities are recognized and reflected in policies and programs that affect their lives. Today's discussion continues with that commitment by shining a light on an issue that deserves greater attention and understanding. We know that while farming communities differ across countries and cultures, many women share common experiences of balancing multiple responsibilities, navigating periods of isolation, and supporting the well-being of both their families and their communities. Equally, we know that connection, compassion, and community can make a profound difference. Our hope is that today's conversation will not only raise awareness, but also inspire ideas, strengthen partnerships, and remind us of the importance of supporting one another. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you find today's discussion insightful, thought-provoking, and encouraging. And now it is my pleasure to hand over to our moderator, Casey Dullant, ACWW's Engagement Officer, who will introduce our panelists and lead today's discussion. Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you very much, Marie, Madam World President. Thank you for those very thoughtful opening remarks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you are based in the world. My name is Casey Dodlin, and I am the Engagement Officer at the Associated Country Women of the World. And it is a pleasure to be here as your moderator for today's webinar. As we've heard, this discussion comes at a very particularly significant time as we mark the International Year of the Woman Farmer. Around the world, women are very much at the heart of agriculture and rural communities, yet their contributions and the unique challenges they face are often overlooked. So today we will be exploring one of those challenges, the impact of mental health and isolation on women living and working in rural and farming communities. At ACWW, our members and their priorities are at the center of everything we do. Each year, we strive to ensure that our programs and events reflect the issues that matter most to rural women around the world. This year, as we celebrate the International Year of the Woman Farmer, we felt it was especially important to create opportunities for women to share not only their achievements, but also the realities of their daily lives, including these challenges that are too often left unspoken. So, the topic of today's webinar was inspired by conversations with our members, many of whom identified mental health and social isolation as significant concerns within their communities. And we recognize the importance of creating a space where these experiences could be acknowledged, discussed openly, and learned from. So, today's event is also an opportunity to showcase the wealth of knowledge and experience that exists within the ACWW network. Our members bring valuable lived experience as farmers, community leaders, advocates, and volunteers. By bringing these voices together with researchers, mental health professionals, organizations working in the field, we hope to foster meaningful dialogue and encourage the sharing of ideas and practical approaches that can benefit rural communities worldwide. This webinar reflects our commitment to building partnerships and connecting our global membership with like-minded organizations and experts who share our vision and improving the lives and well-being of rural women. We really believe that by learning from one another, working collaboratively, we can strengthen support for women farmers and contribute to more resilient and connected rural communities. So we're very fortunate to have an excellent panel joining us today, bringing perspectives from community organizations, mental health charities, and lived experience from different parts of the world. So together, they will help us better understand the challenges, highlight examples of good practice, and explore how communities can support the mental well-being of women farmers. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on ACWW's social media channels and website following the event. Please feel free to submit your questions utilizing the chat function throughout the webinar. And if you would like, please share your name, where you're from in the chat. We would love to see the global representation here at this webinar today. And we will reserve time towards the end of the session to answer as many questions as possible. And if we're unable to get to every question, we will do our best to follow up after the event where appropriate. So with that, it is my pleasure to briefly introduce our panelists. First, from South Africa, we have Tshigo Mpule, who's a member of the Bafokeng Women's Club, a longstanding member society of ACWW. Bafokeng Women's Club represent women of the Royal Bafokeng Nation and work to advance and drive social progress in their community. She's the founder and managing director of Tshigo M Creations, which is a 100% Black-owned, woman-led agribusiness headquartered in Luka Village, Rustenburg, Northwest Province of South Africa. We also welcome Louise Taylor, based in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. She is the chair of the Community and International Support Committee at the Country Women's Association of Victoria. She and her committee are dedicated to supporting vulnerable women, children, and families through community outreach and the coordination of practical aid. CWA Victoria have been also a very long-time member of ACWW, and it is a vibrant, volunteer philanthropic organization with a focus on friendship, personal development, and advocacy. We also welcome Dr. Hegana, based in Maharashtra, India, who works extensively with farming communities across rural and drought-prone regions of India. He's the founder and director of the Center for Farmers' Mental Health, a dedicated institution focused on farmers' mental health and well-being, as well as the Shavar Helpline, which provides counseling, guidance, and support services to farmers and rural families. We also welcome Kara Ausmus, who lives on her family's 125-year-old farm in Illinois, USA, where she and her family raise Angus cattle, grow crops, and produce hay. Having grown up on a working farm with livestock, orchards, and a large family garden, she brings a lifetime of experience in agriculture and rural living. And alongside farming, she is the president and international chair of the Mercer County, Illinois Association of Home and Community Education. And finally, we have Miranda Van Heest, a farmer based in New Brunswick, Canada. Miranda is the president of the Petit Kodiak District Women's Institute, the director at large for New Brunswick Women's Institute, and the founder of the Elgin Eco Association. She lives with her husband, where together they operated a dairy farm for 35 years before transitioning to a smaller property where they now keep a flock of sheep. And throughout her career, she has played a vital role in all aspects of the farm, including animal health, accounting, field work, and day-to-day farm management. So, drawing on decades of experience from our panelists in agriculture, community leadership, mental health, volunteering, this group of panelists bring thoughtful perspectives on the realities of rural life, the strength of community connections, and the importance of supporting the well-being of women in farming communities. So, without further ado, we will dive right into our conversation at hand. So, just to set the scene and understand the challenges in rural communities, I will turn to Dr. Hagana first. If you please tell us about your organization's work and what led you to focus on mental health within farming communities.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and the ACWW core team and the members. I'm very happy to connect with this webinar from the India. We are working for the state of Maharashtra last 12 years with the pyramid model. We developed the pyramid model for the farmers' suicide prevention, rehabilitation, and the sustainability part. In this prevention model, we developed the one flagship program, which is called as the Shivar Helpline. Shivar is the native word, which means the agriculture farm. We This helpline is the basically a methodology for the farmers where they can come across on the telephonic conversation. First of all, we give the counseling part, their problem solving methodologies, and with the hands-on some problem solutions with the connection with the government NGOs, or individual level capacity builders or supporters. Along this, we intervene very innovative model, which bring the training or the capacity building for the medical practitioners in the rural part of the India, where they are treating the farmers after some accidental cases. In the prevention, we are working for the treating awareness and the mentorship for the farmers, woman, their child, and the whole family ecosystem. In the rehabilitation, after some farmers commit suicide or the mental health crisis, in that period, their livelihood is impacted more. In period of time, we support them with many resources to come bring their challenges and empower their livelihood things. We developed the Usmanabadi goat milk soap, the goat milk based value chain for their livelihood program. And from this ecosystem, we again go with the counseling, mentorship, guidance, and the help. Third part is the sustainability. In the sustainability, we identify the farmers, women, and the families and the individual farmers who's in the distress. For there, we develop the climate resilience agriculture model. In that ecosystem, we gave them the hands-on training, capacity models program for their own individual farms on that ecosystem with the climate change impact, how they can take a crop rotation, how they can change their ecosystem, and from that, how they can sustain their livelihood with the agriculture activities. In this ecosystem, we very closely working with the farmers and the women and the youth of the families. We developed the intervention model, which is called as the agro-psychosocial intervention model, where the agriculture livelihood is impacted or insecure, in that immediately impact on their social expectation or the integrity, which social represent their child education, child marriage, family economical situation, money laundering, money support, loan, crisis management part. In this social aspect, they agro and social, which impacts more on their mental health crisis. Likewise, 10 months before in India is like a very heavy rainfall situation. And after 10 months, today is the our drought-like situation. This is a change of the climate and which impact on their farmers' livelihood, which immediately impact on their mental health crisis. Last 7 months, we received 7,863 calls in the distress in the rural part of the India, where 33% are the women farmers, which they are calling for the counseling and the support system. Uh, our strategy is basic on the research, policy, implementation, and the diplomacy. In that ecosystem, we communicate with our government, and they are started when the task force for the farmer suicide prevention and climate regulatory authority. On that, we developed for our country one policy for the prevention, rehabilitation, sustainability part. We are internationally celebrating the International Women Farmers Day. Uh, on this basis, also we draft the policy for the support system and the entrepreneurship program for the women's farmers in India. And under that, we are developing the ecosystem with the agro-psychosocial intervention model, not only for the part of the livelihood or economical gain, but with the mental health support system and their well-being as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hegana. You mentioned so many interesting and harrowing, I think, statistics and details arising in India, the growing issue of mental health, the anxieties and pressures that arise in agricultural communities. But the note that you mentioned, there have been over 7,000 calls into your helpline in just the past 7 months, with 33% of them being women, just goes to show how much women are in need of these support systems. So I would actually like to turn now to Kara, who's based in rural Illinois, to ask you, what are the biggest stresses that you carry as a woman farmer? You know, what factors cause you the most anxiety, and maybe how have these changed over time? Sorry, I think your mic is off. If you could unmute yourself.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I must have touched something without knowing it.
That's all right.
I would say the two biggest stressors for women farmers and farmers in general right now are always the weather, because one day of bad weather can change everything in a crop system. And the other thing that is a continuous challenge is prices, because we do not set our farm prices. So those are set when you send it to the market. It's, you know, what it's priced at doesn't continue to contain what your expenses may or may not have changed from. So that's a continuous challenge and problem. Um, the biggest changes over time, well, obviously technology, from a 2-row corn picker that my dad and granddad used to the huge combines that are used now. But the biggest, I would say, change over the time is the volatility of the markets, and the prices, like we'll pick on fertilizer, may go up 6 times because of availability, et cetera. And when you order that, you pay for it. If you don't pay for it, then the price can change continuously. So it might go up, you know, another 2 times. And that's challenging to do. So the other change, I guess, or reality for farmers is that we tend to use only enough of what we have to use. So if we can use 50% and get the results that we want, we get that. Whereas a consumer in their backyard may use 10 times the amount of chemicals to have a perfect backyard. And horribly enough, a golf course can use up to 100 times to have perfect greens. So obviously, our sense of purpose and perfection is very different. We have a lot of programs that are available for support and community help. And I think the two biggest challenges with that is knowledge of what is available and willingness to reach out and utilize those programs. But we have a program called Farm Bureau and Compere, which is a loan organization. And then there are things like rural health initiatives. And they try to get out more and more information. And I think as individuals, we have two responsibilities. One, to reach out when we need help, and two, to reach in and help other people that may be not so aware of what's available, or that they're really in a crisis that they need to find a better spot to work from.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kara. Thank you. I find it interesting now that, we have noted from Dr. Hagana's response and Kara on complete different sides of the world that not only the volatility of the market, but things like a changing climate really do affect the output of farmers, which can therefore have a domino effect on mental health. And Kara, the point you make about reaching out and reaching in, I think is definitely something that people can take away, finding where these resources and support are, and also, having the awareness in your communities to help other people that you may note are struggling in similar or different ways. So thank you. I did jot that down because I think that is a very important message. I will turn to Miranda now. Miranda, women, as I'm sure you know from your experience, often balance farming, caretaking or parenting, and managing a household all at once, these multiple responsibilities. How would you say having overlapping responsibilities such as these have shaped your experience as a woman farmer?
Well, thank you for that question. Well, I learned that I've become very adapted to being present for anything on the spur of the moment. I would be doing accounting and my husband would come in that the tractor isn't working. So you leave everything and you go and help get the tractor going again. So, but I jotted some stuff down because it was short notice. And even if the kids were in the house, you would leave them alone because that's the way it is. And if there is animals that needed your help, it was not if you should help them, but you get out and do it no matter what. The laundry and the house were always last. And I tapped on my daughter and she said, our first 1,000 acres are always planted first. And the last acre is where we live on, comes last. It's never, and trying to get the kids to the extracurricular activities, trying to figure that out is a whole other matter. In the years that I farmed, it was sort of an organized chaos. Everything got done, and sometimes you wonder how it did get done. And having a child with serious health issues made everything a little more stressful. Luckily, I have no mental health issues. I'm a positive person, and I believe one day to the next will always change. Having said that, I do believe The children were taught independence, and they know what work is. They never held it against me that they were left alone or they had to come and help out as well. And today's farms here in Canada, it's a different story. The decision makers in the world decided that farms needed to be bigger, produce more, faster, cheaper. This created a whole new challenge, and farms needed to expand to eke out a living. And the cost of expansion put a strain on family living, and financial burdens increased. And when I asked my daughter about isolation, she said, I don't feel isolated because I don't have any friends. It's in fact that she is in a managing position on the family farm, and the higher personnel believe a woman shouldn't tell them what to do and often ignore her directions for the day's work. And I believe, and she does too, that it's a cultural thing. And then we discussed a little more about the self-care is very much telling people you have to take care of yourself. Well, that's easy thing to say. Telling women about self-care is asking the women to fix the problem themselves while the root cause is overlooked. Male dominance in agricultural sector is still very prevalent. I experienced myself, but without women in agriculture, the farms will fail because women often take care of the jobs that need that little extra care, like calf rearing, animal health, milking the cows, accounting. And men and young new male workers all want to sit on that tractor, preferably a big one. So we have to decide, I think, that the bigger, faster, more economy has to be fixed in something better, because right now it's killing our children. And that's what I'm worried about. Plus, the disappearing small farms will make it harder to feed communities in times of trouble. My parents survived World War II only because the presence of the many small farms in the country. And another issue that has been recently recognized, the loss of small family farms is also cause the degradation or degradation of soil. Soil has been carefully built up for decades by small farm owners. These farms are bought up by larger commercial enterprises, and the soil suffers. So it's extremely hard for young farm women with children to be part of farm women's group due to the sheer work they already have and the commitments. They just cannot add more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miranda. I think you really shed a lot of light on how there are so many invisible responsibilities or anxieties that can come with being a woman in farming, and all of the things and the challenges that you note that have been kind of surfacing over the past few decades with soil degradation, the multiple responsibilities that women have, the also, when you said that the farm land comes first and the land where we live, comes after, that really goes to show I would say, the resilience that farming families have in making sure that the business and the farm succeeds first, and how that is just the primary focus, whereas, the homestead may be a secondary priority, but all the while still so intertwined. All of these things are so connected. And you definitely, I think, spoke on a bit of a gendered experience that women have in farming. So I would like to now, I'll pivot to Louise about, what does that look like, a gendered experience for women farmers? As isolation is a central theme of this webinar, what impact would you say does isolation appear to have on women farmers' mental health in Australia? And are there differences in the experiences of women farmers compared with men?
Thank you, Casey. So I've prepared my answer, so I need to read it. So the mental health and well-being of people in agriculture could be adversely impacted by increasingly complex and compounding events, including weather and natural disasters, financial stress, and geographic or social isolation. Literature suggests that women farmers often navigate the dual stress of physical farm labour and managing household operations, placing them potentially at high risk for burnout. Geographic remoteness from living long distances from towns, community hubs, and essential services potentially limits social opportunities. Geographical isolation can cause extra stress in times of illness and accidents. According to the national charity Motherland in Australia, which seeks to connect isolated mums in regional areas, 50% of rural mothers cannot access a physical mothers group, and more than 80% say isolation is the hardest part of rural motherhood. Early intervention from maternal health nurses can help recognise signs of postnatal depression. Literature suggests that one of the most significant differences in the experience of women farmers compared with men is the lack of maternity services. Following a 41% reduction in rural and remote maternity units since 1992, Dr. Lewandowski, president of the Rural Doctors Association of Australia, says when birthing services are closed, risks for pregnant rural and remote women and their babies increase. Women and families often have to travel significant distances or relocate to a town or city with birthing facilities, which is expensive, stressful, and not acceptable for rural families living in Australia. The National Farmer Wellbeing Report, commissioned by Norco in partnership with the National Farmers Federation, has found that in recent years, nearly half of Australian farmers have felt depressed, with almost 2/3 experiencing anxiety. For 1 in 7, it's a frequent experience. The report indicates that over 60% of surveyed women in Australian farming experience anxiety compared to men who face higher risks of self-harm and suicide. While women make up around 32% of the agricultural workforce, there is no specific numerical data detailing exact mental health diagnosis counts between men and women. Documented studies highlight a stark gender difference in both the manifestation and management of mental health on the land. Women show higher rates of reported anxiety and depression, but are statistically more likely to reach out and seek help. Men often underreport psychological distress, but face significantly higher risks for self-harm and suicide, acting on drastic thoughts at higher rates than women. In the general strain, according to the National Farmers Federation, access to care remains critically low. Only 14.7% of regional farmers report good access to mental health services compared to the broader Australian population. According to a 2024 report by the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, President Dr. Elizabeth Moore said the demand for mental health services in the bush continues to outstrip the capacity of the rural and regional mental health system to provide care and support. Only 14% of Australian psychiatrists work rurally, but 29% of the population around 7 million people live in regional, rural, and remote areas. Research also suggests that close to half of Australian farmers, 45%, have had thoughts of self-harm or suicide, while close to a third have attempted self-harm or suicide. While Australian farmers overall experience a suicide rate of up to twice that of the general working population, clear distinctions emerge between genders. Symptom prevalence. Women farmers are more likely than male farmers to report symptoms of clinical depression and severe anxiety. Mortality disparity. Research indicates that male farmers die by suicide at a rate of 3.8 times higher than farming females. This mirrors general population trends where males are more likely to use highly lethal means. Help-seeking behaviours. Women in rural communities generally seek clinical help more readily than men, which acts as a major protective factor against suicide. In conclusion, this is such an important issue that this is our 2026 social issues theme.
Thank you so much, Louise. That was, yeah, some very harrowing statistics and very interesting to hear about the difference in male farmers versus women farmers. But I note you mentioning that there are higher rates of male farmer suicide, and that women farmers, while experiencing mental health challenges, would be statistically more likely to reach out for support. But then at the same time, the access to that care is still so limited that I think there can often still be a chance of underreporting, like you mentioned. So I would be interested to hear from Dr. Higana, who I know has a lot of hands-on experience with dealing with the suicide prevention amongst farmers in India. So I would be interested to hear, when we talk about mental health in farming communities, while the conversation does often focus on male farmers, they still are experiencing, mental health challenges. So I would be curious, what are you seeing when it comes to the experiences of both men and women in farming households?
Yeah. First of all, as per the discuss and the shared the experiences of everyone, it is very enlightening and it is very important. And I'm agree with everybody's sharing points. First of all, uh, this is the male farmers and women farmers. The mental health crisis is more likely is the same, but in the context of the women farmers is not only a farmer, but as well as it is the homemaker. The both challenges come together, which impacts as a women farmers, where the legal identity of the as a women farmers in the country level or the world level, it is very bigger gap. Nobody are recognizing legally as a woman farmer. This is the first step. Second step, what we are approaching for the support for the male farmers is the prevention model, the helpline, and the pyramid model initiatives, just I shared earlier. But as well, in the context of the women farmers, we are working like making the women farmers groups, some women farmers, product producer companies for their own challenges, farm challenges to mitigate with the market ecosystem to gain the livelihood sustainability part. And we made around 5,000 groups, such like the farmers women groups, which represent 10 to 20 each of group. Our highest is 100 plus women in the one group of the form the as a women group, farmers group, which leading to their own mental health crisis well-being part with the sharing and caring ecosystem. Because of they come together, their capacity to change or challenge their own challenges with the government ecosystem, individual ecosystems, and the to take support from the organization like us or the other ecosystems to bringing their own problems, the farm problems, personal family issues, or the any part of their lifespan. But it is coming together as a group of farmers, women farmers, which leading to the problem solving ecosystem. Uh, Women farmers are the more likely dependent on the family ecosystem that just I think Miranda is said uh, the male farmers dominating for the decision making in the farming ecosystem, and it is worldwide is a common part. Just I listening everyone comment, I feel it is my country commentary, but it is a global scenario. I feel it is same with the every women farmers in the worldwide ecosystem, and we currently doing with the women farmer ecosystem for their mental health, isolation, and well-being part with the prevention, rehabilitation, and the sustainability approaches.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there are so many great things I think that you touched on there, especially the importance of having groups of women able to come together. And that's something that we will pivot to in just a few minutes. But I find it is a common theme around the world of having these spaces for women farmers to come together to share and care, as you mentioned, so that they can be forms of support and resilience to each other. But I think one other thing that I just noted is that women can often bear the weight of challenges that might go unnoticed without this sort of direct engagement and opportunities to connect with one another. So before we dive into like the importance of these women's groups, I will just go back to Miranda really quickly to touch a bit more on something you said about how living on a farm can be very rewarding, but sometimes that there might be isolation that comes with that in different ways. So in your experience, what would you say there are aspects of farm life that contribute most to feelings of isolation for women in your area? If not in your household, are there any observations that you see in your region of Canada that women experience?
Okay, thank you for that question. I personally, I've always tried to be part of a group, which really helps keep isolation at bay because you always have a network of women. So I've never experienced isolation myself, but as I said, with the economy as it is and the governments believing or the economer believing that these farms need to expand, give these women less time to engage with other women or no time to engage with other women's group, which is hugely important. And I'm always happy that I had that opportunity to be part of my community. And I think everybody around here feels the same way. I can't speak for other people's families, but that's the way I feel. But my daughter has no time for anything like that, and she would thoroughly enjoy being able to be part of a women's group, and somehow we have to make that happen. I strongly believe that that is key.
Mm-hmm.
Back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Miranda. Definitely. I think, what I've jotted down in big, bold letters in my notes is, access and time, I think, are the two things that are ongoing challenges, whether, you may have the resources in your community, but do you have the time as a farmer to, engage with these groups? And if there aren't any, but maybe you do have the time, it's trying to find opportunities and practical support that I think are key, as you mentioned. But the challenge of how do you do it when you are busy running a farm all day is, one of those ongoing challenging questions, I think. But anyways, we've heard about the challenges, and now I think it would be great to pivot to what helps and turning our attention to solutions and the importance of women's groups specifically. I think across all of your community is, what helps women feel connected and supported, and we're seeing these practical support groups, women farmers groups. And I think the dynamic of ACWW member societies we have seen serve as a space for women to come together and connect over their lived experiences and realities. So I'd like to turn to Chigo, who is involved in both business development and community networks, such as the Bafokeng Women's Club. So Chigo, how important would you say are women's networks and peer support in reducing isolation and building resilience?
Good everyone, and thank you for having me, Casey and ACWW. You know what, I must say that being an entrepreneur and woman farmer is actually difficult. It's not easy. We find ourselves lonely at times, and as a woman, like Ma'am Miranda has said, we are often entrepreneurs, we are mothers, we are caregivers and community leaders all at the same time, and it feels overwhelming. Imagine if you are having young kids as well that you need to take care of that are still going to school. And that's why I believe women's network and peer support are not just important, they are very essential to us because we need one another as women. And also, my experience being part of Bafokeng Women's Club and the Bafokeng Women's Club agricultural program, which is led by our Princess Motswana, where she gathered all the women from 29 villages of the Bafokeng Nation, teaching us about the importance of agriculture and farming, whether backyard or not. It has reminded me that as we gather as women, we form something very powerful. It is so powerful things happen actually. We don't just gather for fun, we gather for exchanging ideas, for building one another, for opportunities, knowledge, encouragement, and real time issues. Because as women, I must tell you that we go through stuff in our households, in our farms, at work. We go through a lot of stuff that is actually unbearable for women. And sometimes one's women's conversation can change another woman's life. And it can be a solution for years to another woman. And that's what community is for. That is why it is important for us to form communities within our farming spaces or agricultural spaces. And also, I've also realized that resilience is not something that you build on your own. You need other people. You need people that believe in you, that challenge you to think bigger than what you are thinking, to remind us that what we started is big and we can move on regardless of the challenges that we are facing. And the beautiful thing is that when one woman succeeds, she really succeeds. She doesn't succeed alone. She succeeds with other women that are around her. And she inspires them. She creates opportunities, support families and conditions that contributes to the stronger community, and our local economies get better as we get together as women. And my message to the women that are listening or joining the webinar is that you cannot do this alone. We need one another. Find a mentor, find a tribe, find a supporting group, whether be it WhatsApp or local group in your vicinity. Join them, get connected, stay connected, keep sharing your challenges. They will keep sharing their challenges, and together we'll come with solutions. And don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're afraid to ask for help, you will remain in that situation. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be isolated. Gather with other women. And it's gonna create a powerful community for all of us if we do that. And yeah, being part of this amazing club, African Women's Club, it has taught us a lot of things. And since we started the agricultural program, I can tell you that most women's mindsets have changed because we talk about everything that affects us as women, as mothers, and as farmers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really liked what you said about how you women come together and just one conversation can change someone's life. And coming together can be more than just for fun, but there's power behind it and exchanging ideas and knowledge with one another and sharing experience, the importance of building resilience with those around you. So kind of on that same note, I will go back to Kara in a similar thread from your experience as a farmer and through organizations like the Illinois Association for Home and Community Education. What types of support programs or community initiatives have you found to be most effective in strengthening connections among rural women for you?
Well, our organization was started in 1917, and it was exactly to help rural women who were isolated and in need of more education, whether that was sewing or making bread, different things that young wives had not done long enough, well enough to feel, successful at. And the extension advisor at that time came to each group, and the stories of her car being stuck in the mud and the roads, etc., and being pulled out were quite interesting stories. But that helped the women to have a monthly meeting where they knew that they would be with supportive, like-minded, like-situationed women. And I think that was a huge help to them. We also have a mailbox membership. So I call it the diet membership because you don't come to a meeting and eat cookies, but it is the same lessons that would be given at each meeting. So sometimes when you have, difficult work schedules or difficult situations, and as some of our members age, they, appreciate not traveling to meetings. I gave my daughter a button this time when I visited, and it said, "I am a strong woman raised by a strong woman." And she can say that, and I can say that for several generations. And I think that women, are willing to reach out and get help, as several people have mentioned. They're aware that, that they need it. And I know I was the first girl in my high school to do 4 years of ag. And at that time, it was, my first year I got put in home ec. So, I didn't belong in ag. But we have a young woman now who has a 2-year-old, and she's very involved with her family farm. Her dad, really appreciates her involvement. And she has organizations like the National Soybean Association reaching out to her to be a spokesperson. So some of it has changed tremendously from being literally unwanted to sought out. But farming is, a dangerous occupation, and it has a higher suicide rate than most other occupations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kara. Your points really remind me about the role that actually that the Country Women's Association has played in Australia. So I'll turn to Louise, our CWA representative here. I'm sure, as you know, the CWA, they have supported rural and farming women for generations. And so in your experience, Louise, what role has the CWA played for you in helping women feel connected and supported?
Country Women's Association of Victoria has been supporting rural and farming women, children, and families for nearly 100 years. It was founded in 1928. There was an early emphasis on helping farming families. Activities have revolved around the development and implementation of a member-driven model led by women and for women, and taking a leadership role to advocate and improve conditions for women and their families. Our history is full of examples of helping women feel connected, supported, and less isolated. One story was reported in our magazine in January 2014. The 2013 social issues focus was, what can I do around creating awareness of family violence? An unnamed member is quoted after attending a CWA workshop that she gained the strength to leave her abusive husband. She wrote, being a member of the CWA and having the love and support of women who have become true friends galvanized me into action, and realizing that I actually had the inner strength and fortitude to go it alone has ultimately made me feel truly empowered. Victoria and all of Australia is a land of climate and weather extremes. It seems there is always a region that is experiencing flood, bushfire, or drought. In 2002, a number of community events were held across the state titled Birds in the Bush. These were pampering and caring events to uplift community members. These events were a great success. Our support to rural women and their families experiencing floods occurred in the Victorian town of Rochester in October 2022. Many homes and businesses were impacted by severe flooding. CWA of Victoria does not provide immediate response to disasters, but becomes engaged in the longer-term relief and rebuilding. It is important to work with the local community and services to ensure that what programs are provided are considered appropriate and needed by community members. Following a lot of planning, the CWA of Victoria hosted an event in Rochester. It went for several days, where the residents gathered to catch up with friends, access support services, enjoyed refreshments, and could choose some of the CWA Victoria supplied items such as blankets, new warm clothing, school items, and vouchers. The feedback we gained showed that people who attended appreciated the chance to talk, to be heard, and to know that other people were thinking of them and ready to assist on their journey to rebuild. The CWA of Victoria has also been engaged by both the state and Commonwealth governments to distribute financial assistance to rural families who have experienced the impacts of bushfires, droughts, and floods. The relief programs have included the distribution of $3.5 million in the drought relief program in 2019, and more recently, $1,117,277.08 in the current drought relief program. We also distributed bushfire relief funds in 2020. In addition to distributing government funds in 2025, we also implemented our own drought relief program. This program included working with local schools to distribute 644 $100 vouchers, totaling $64,000, to families in the Southwest region. These vouchers were used to purchase groceries. Another wonderful initiative a few years ago was undertaken in another area of Victoria severely impacted by drought. We again worked with our members, local schools, and suppliers in the local area to provide a bag of groceries to each child for their family. In 2021, we formed the CWA of Victoria virtual branch. This branch provides the opportunity for members to attend meetings via a different mode and to participate as a member of the CWA Victoria. They meet online and enjoy social time together before discussing CWA business. The members of the branch join for various reasons: geographic, health issues, family responsibilities, and importantly, avoiding kangaroos on the road after dusk. They attend group and state conferences in person. Community support is just as important now as it was almost 100 years ago when we were established. Everyone wants to feel supported, heard, and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much for sharing so many of the common causes and initiatives that brought women in your area together. I think the message you shared at the start about, it's an organization by women for women, is really important. And just, this whole concept of women supporting women, we definitely hear that phrase in so many spaces. So I'll turn to Chigo again. As a woman leading a successful agribusiness, what message would you give to other women farmers who may feel overwhelmed or uncertain? I know you spoke of such a very empowering and inspirational message, but I would be curious to hear more about your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you once again. Well, I can say to women all around the globe, I want to say that never stop believing in the vision that God has placed in your heart. It is not by mistake. I know there will be days that resources are limited. You doubt yourself, and people doubt yourself, and you even question yourself that is it me that is doing this? Do I really have to do this? But do not lose hope. And there are moments that like that you can't even tell what you're doing, but do not let those moments to define your future or your destination, because every successful entrepreneur has faced challenges. We are not the first people to face challenges, but we are the group that is going to bring solutions to the challenges that we are facing today. And the difference is that we are keeping on, we are going on, no matter what the challenges that we are facing. And with me, my journey in my business, I have a brand called M. It wasn't easy. Even today, I can't tell that it is easy. I'm still pushing, I'm still keeping on, like developing a MSG-free products and natural products. It's not easy because it's a lot of innovation that requires time. And it also takes faith, it takes persistence, it takes consistency for you to gather all that. And there were moments where I felt, this journey is not for me because it's not easy. But every obstacle that came my way became an opportunity for me to improve, learn, and grow. And I've also learned that no one succeeds alone, like I said before. We build relationships, we find mentors, connect with other farmers, and learn from them. Entrepreneurs and organizations that can support us through our journeys. Because I said it is a lonely journey. You can't do it alone at all. And remember, your background as a woman, as a farmer, does not define your destiny, your destination. Keep pushing. You know what God has placed in your heart. That vision is very important for us to keep pushing. And we are agricultural or women farmers for a reason. And this is our time to shine. The seed of agriculture is placed in our hands, and we should not let it fall down. The future of our countries are in our hands because we hold the seeds. So that's the word that I want to part with, that I want to give to our viewers and our listeners. And yes, agriculture is ours. This is our time, women farmers. Let's shine. Let's shine around the world with this agriculture thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is such a wonderful, positive, and empowering note, I think, to end on. I'm so grateful for everyone's contributions today. I think what has come through so clearly in this conversation is that, and I've even seen in the chat as well, that while women farmers and rural women live in very different contexts around the world, there are many shared experiences. I think we've heard about the pressures of balancing farming, caregiving, family, community responsibilities. We've heard about the challenges of limited access to support and isolation, but also the incredible creativity and resilience and strength that exists within rural communities. So a key message I think that really stands out to me is that connection matters, whether it's through community groups, mental health services, peer networks, or simply having someone to talk to. Having spaces where women feel seen and supported can really make such a profound difference. So I want to thank all of the panelists for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your insights today. We have just about around 10 minutes that we've got on the scheduled duration of the webinar, but I do want to open this up now. If there are any questions that people would like to ask in the chat, please feel free to drop any if there are any specific questions you have for any of the panelists, any comments, anything like that. We would be happy to try to answer as many as we can. But as we wait, hopefully there will be a question or two in the chat. I would like to just pose to, I guess, the entire panel, if anyone would like to jump in and speak on this. If there is one thing you would like people to understand about the everyday realities of women farmers, what would that be? Anyone can feel free to jump in if they would like. Yes, Kara, please go ahead.
I think to understand that we all have at least 3 full-time jobs, and it's certainly 40 hours, maybe minimum per job, who knows. But I know one of our regional groups is doing a mental health, program education. But I think the other thing, as we learn more about mental health, we need to also know more about how to build resiliency, especially in our youth. I think some of them have just not gotten that muscle strengthened the way I would hope that it will become a better muscle for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they would like to? Yeah, I see Nikki. Yeah, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I want to take the opportunity to, well, first of all, thanks to our guest speakers because it's been incredibly interesting what they shared today. And just to reconnect to what Kara was sharing about, women farmers having like this dual like work of like household and, managing the household and their farms. I just want to ask to whoever wants to answer this, like what kind of interventional resources have you seen that actually help ease that dual workload? And is that something available for you locally that helps women directly, women farmers? Thank you.
Well, if I may jump in, there is none. We live in small communities. There is no daycare. There is nothing. We have to basically manage ourselves to do what get done. And if there is something available, we have to drive an hour away. Well, an hour one way and an hour back. That help is not available.
So is this something that
That's an
happens like
issue,
informally? Does it happen informally with neighbors that you support each other? Is it something that happened like that more than a structure?
Well, in today's world, everybody has a job and the neighbors don't have as much time as we have. They go off to their job. I don't know. I have no answer for that, but it's an issue. And I live 4 hours away from from my daughter, and I like to help her, and I go there sometimes for a couple days, right? But yeah, it's huge.
I might, Casey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, growing up on a farm and working on the farm all my life, uh, during my child years, it was a multi-generational farm. So the grandparents were there, and there was that support system. But as farms have become larger, then we've lost that. We've lost that connection that was there, that we relied on and depended upon. As you said, Miranda, when someone had to go to the barn to deliver a calf, or to do something, or to get a tractor pulled out of mud or something like that, there was someone still in the house with the children. We're in the communities now, and the size of the farms, there is that element of isolation, and that I'm sure is part of why this topic is so important for us to continue to address. It's been so encouraging to sit and to listen to the stories. And though we're a global organization, there is a thread of connection around the world when we sit and we listen to each other, and we see the opportunities, the encouragement. The sharing of knowledge certainly is empowering, and I certainly want us to build on this webinar as a women's organization, because we, as uh, as was stated by one of our speakers, we never need to lose the vision. Where you don't want to lose the vision, because vision gives us hope. And as a women's international organization, we certainly want to build on that hope and build on this conversation. And I want to extend special thanks to the staff at Central Office, to Joe, our Executive Director, to Casey and Nicolette for putting together this webinar, and certainly we will build on this. So thank you all for being here today.
Yes, thank you very much, Marie. I'm just keeping my eye on the chat, and there have been just such positive messages coming through from everyone who's joined. And as you said, I think it will be a great opportunity to build on the importance of this topic. And yes, I guess unless there are any other questions from Nikki, if you would like to.
Yeah, I see two hands up. I don't know how we can just people unmute themselves, the attendees?
I can give them, I think, allow to talk permission. So I do see we have Justine and Claire have their
Yes.
hands raised. So I will see if we can get that to go. I think, Claire, you should have ability to turn your mic on now if you have anything.
Yeah, I think it's on, is it?
Yes, yep, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
I just wanted to say that this has been very interesting. I particularly wanted to say to Kara that the organization that I belong to in Kenya was founded at the same time as hers, and it was also founded for the same reason, because back in those times, it was colonial times, and the settler farmers' wives in Kenya were very isolated, and they used to go on horseback to meetings. And it seems that in 100 and something years, people still are lonely, which is a terrible indictment of what people have not been able to do over 100 years. And I would like to just support any thing that we can do as an organization, and I think this should be one of our priorities. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you very much, Claire. I appreciate it. I saw Justine had your hand up. If you have something you'd like to share, I've just given you the ability to turn your mic on if you have anything you'd like to add. Yes, no. Might give it a minute. No. All right. Well, while we wait for Justine, I noticed, yes, Dr. Hagana, you have your hand raised, so please go ahead.
I'm very happy today. We are discussing about the women farmers' mental health on the global platform, and it is very happy start, or it is very grateful start too we are discussing more about the things, but I'm hoping we are come together in the collaboration. We can make the policy. We can make some interventions models, the research base, which intervene about the global women farmers' mental health, the perspectives, and the prevention, rehabilitation, the sustainability part, which across the globe it is very needed, and we can make the ecosystem which not leading not discussing the more about the issue, but with leading the problem solving the within the ecosystem of the women farmers community. And I'm very hopeful this platform, and today's my great day to connect with all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope that, yes, going forward, as the Shafar Helpline Center for Farmers Mental Health, we will be able to pursue further collaboration together on things like that you mentioned, like policy. It's getting insights from grassroots organizations and communities like the ones you operate in, where we can really develop a good research base and a good background for helping make change. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I see, Justine, you've got your mic on if you wanted to ask a question.
And then I think there's Kara. We see your hand up. You go next. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm Justine Quinke, the president of Fongo Women's Group Cameroon in Southwest region. I just want to share a little bit about women farming. I just want to say that we are royal women, and women are the backbones of the royal communities, especially in Cameroon, when it comes to farming. And in Cameroon, we have 60 to about 80% of food production from women. And it is sometimes very, very hard because I say it referring to my own society. We are 100 women, and we do cassava planting. We process the cassava, we plant pepper, we process it. Sometimes cassava processing, we cannot do it because of the season. It will not get dry. And sometimes women are not, because of the season, women are unable to do anything. So by so doing, we have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of challenges, especially during harvesting. And in fact, most of the women, they try to do, a kind of small farming, something that they can actually do it in their small gardens in order to maintain their families. And I want also to say that myself as a president of Fongo Women, at the same time a councillor with the city council, we try to, when it concerns farming, we advocate for women access to land, seed, extension service, and storage, just to support women, especially women cooperatives. So we try to influence the council and see if they can, chip in to support women. They also fund women's saving groups and care centers just around, try to put care centers around their farming areas. And then mental health, create, safe space women. And we also counsel them, especially at the health center. We create small places where you can counsel them mentally, let them understand that they are women. We are not supposed to just give up because of our difficulties. So that's the little I can share from Cameroon. That's the little I can share for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Justine. Yeah, I think your comments really also emphasize, a bunch of the topics that we discussed today, and the importance of collaboration between community members and just women having access to the resources they need to succeed. I believe Kara had her hand, and then I think that might be the last question we take for today or comment.
I have the top of a license plate tag here, and it is, "As I breathe, I hope." And I think that, really says, as long as we're here, we have some hope. And I think, our organizations are essential to the women and the work and hope that they do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kara. Yeah, I think that's such a great, very positive message to leave us off on today. That the importance of our community networks and our community resilience comes from each other and collaboration and support. So once again, I want to thank everyone, all of our panelists here today for sharing your experiences, your insights into your own lives, your communities. And thank you to everyone who joined today and all of the positive comments we've received in the chat. This webinar is being recorded, and we will be sure to get it up on our website, social media, as soon as possible. And we will send a follow-up email to everyone as well, just with a recap of information about our panelists and things that were discussed. So again, thank you. That's all. I can really just thank you enough for joining for this webinar as we mark the International Year of the Woman Farmer. And we hope to have more conversations like this in the future, not just for this International Year, but beyond that, because while this is just a year, I think our work continues beyond 2026. So with that, I will leave you all, and thank you so much again for your time, and have a great rest of your day.